Hi, and welcome back to Ronnie the Reader. In today's video, we are going to be going over a topic that I have been interested in a little bit, and that's exploring some of the books that have been translated into English that I've been interested in. One of my unofficial reading goals over the last couple of years has been trying to read more translated fiction from around the world, just so that way, I don't know, I am kind of getting different types of stories, different ways that stories are being told, kind of different perspective, different culture, and not just reading strictly like American and British kind of books all of the time, just to kind of break up the, feelings and the kind of the repetitive themes and things that might be explored in some of those fiction. And just, like I said, kind of getting a different perspective on some things and seeing the way that other authors from different cultures decide to write stories and handle topics. So for today's video, I have 5 books that I'm going to go over that have all been translated into English, but originally were published in a different language, not in America. And so we will go through each, talk a little bit about just the premise, and a little bit about, why I'm interested in the book. So jumping right in, the first book on the list is the Mill House Murders by Yukito Atazui. And this was translated by Huling Wang from Japanese. This was originally published in 1988, and this is the second book in a series. I think it's called like the Murder Mansion series or something like that, but essentially this is a famous series in Japan that I think has like over 10 books or something published, and the first couple are now starting to be published in America. The Mill House Murders is about a group of people who all travel to this reclusive manor, and who's living at the manor is a recluse, like a man who apparently wears a rubber mask after he was in an accident that scarred or disfigured his face. I don't really know. The book is following a detective character who is reappearing from the first book, which I have read from the series, the Decagon House Murders. And so this one is following a series of murders that takes place in this house, as well as some outside things. I think there's a theft of some art or something from the house as well. I don't know if that is happening at the same time or what. But yeah, I'm just interested to kind of carry on with this series. The first book, while I enjoyed, it really is like a direct kind of retelling of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This book was originally published in 1988, Mill House Murders. Decagon House Murders was published in 86. So these books have been out for a really, really long time, and are kind of, I think, heralded as ushering in that murder mystery, kind of locked room type of story in Japan. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I think these books are famous for and why they are so highly regarded in Japanese culture. So yeah, I'm excited to check this one out. And the covers, the American covers that they've done for these are really, really pretty. I really enjoy them. The next book on the list is The Dinner by Herman Koch. And this is originally published in the Netherlands in 2009. And this essentially is taking place over one dinner between two families. There's 2 sets of parents, and they essentially meet and are just kind of having small talk. But then the bulk of the story, or I guess I'm assuming, the story is about how their 2 sons were involved in some sort of incident or accident of some kind. And essentially these parents are meeting to see how they can protect their sons. I don't know if they are working together or if they're going to be working, I guess, against each other to kind of put the blame on one son over the other. I don't really know what the accident is either. So this one has the potential to get very dark. I know that it is heralded as a pretty dark and suspenseful novel. I know that the American cover has a blurb by Gillian Flynn on it. So knowing kind of the style of her work, I can anticipate a little bit going into this, what it might be about. But yeah, this one just sounds interesting. Definitely a type of story that intrigues me. I kind of love, small town family secrets, isolated story settings. So definitely interested in checking this one out and, seeing how it goes. The third book on the list is another Japanese translation, and that is The Memory Police by Yuko Ogawa. And this was translated by Stephen Snyder, like I said, from Japan in 1994. originally is when this book was published in Japan. And this essentially is a science fiction, like dystopian novel that has been compared to 1984 by George Orwell. And the book is set on this island off of the coast that is never necessarily named. I think that you can assume the story is taking place somewhere in the Japanese region, but the actual island that they're living on does not have a name, at least in the synopsis. And on this island, things seem to just disappear, and then everyone is supposed to forget that thing existed. But it seems there is some people who remember these items, or I'm assuming even people that might disappear, and they are living in fear, essentially, of the regime of the memory police, which the title comes from. So this one is really cool. Like I said, I've been really wanting to get into some sci-fi more, so definitely checking out translated sci-fi and dystopian fiction and seeing how that goes is, a huge part of that project I'm working on. This one also sounds really cool and sounds like it has the potential to be a really interesting critique on kind of society and a police state and overly harsh regimes. So yeah, definitely interested to see how this one goes. The fourth book on this list is We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Borvowitz, I think is how you say the author's name. And this was translated by Emma Rolt from Dutch. And this book was actually first published in 2021. So it's fairly new, even in the original language that it was published in. And this is following a woman named Kaylee who starts this job at a mega corporation who was essentially monitoring social media posts. And Kaylee's job and her department's job is essentially to monitor different posts for, like basically it comes down to like hate speech to community guidelines, violations, that sort of thing. And then as the book progresses, it seems that things get more and more crazy. Seems like she falls into a bit of a conspiracy around the company. So this one is super relevant to today's world. The day I'm filming this, I think America just put what did they do? They passed a bill talking about a TikTok ban. So, the idea of the government wanting to control what people are viewing is not a new concept, but as far as social media, that is fairly new. And while there's always been guidelines and protections and things for social media, at least, nowadays, not so much kind of in the early 2000s or even late 90s when like forums started popping up, that kind of stuff. It's just an interesting topic growing up in kind of this day and age, and I'm really intrigued by this particular book to see how they handle that topic and to see how it reflects, a society even 3 years later that is going through very much what it seems like this book is going to be discussing and talking about. The last book on this list is Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist, and this was originally translated from Swedish, or from Sweden in 2004. The book is about 20 years old, and essentially this is a horror, paranormal, like supernatural thriller police seeming book. Is following a character, a detective who is looking into these like ritualistic, it seems, killings. And then he also has a new neighbor move in, and there's a strange girl. The kind of book talks about her being able to do an Rubik's Cube, even though she claims she's never seen one. It's kind of interesting topic and an interesting kind of like supernaturally thing. It seems like it's probably something to do with, because the synopsis talks about a victim being drained of blood, so it seems like it's a vampire-y type story, I would imagine. And this is part of a series, I think, so I'm intrigued to kind of get to this one and see what the series potential is. It may be just kind of another detective police procedural series. I just really don't know, or maybe it's one long continuing storyline. I'm just not sure, but I am interested to check out this book and kind of see what the kind of European take on vampires and lore and all that is like, because obviously that's really where a lot of that kind of lore and things started, and then we in America have adopted a lot of those stories when we colonized America and kind of took over and brought a lot of those European philosophies over here. But of course they have changed. So that's kind of why this one is intriguing to me. That is the last book on this list, so that is it for today's video. So definitely let me know if you're interested in any of these books, if you've read any of them perhaps, and what some of your recommended translated work is that you have read in the past. I would definitely love to just kind of be aware of more translated work out there, and just try to pick up maybe, 3 to 4 a year is my goal. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you then.